Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Before I get into this video, I'd like to ask you all to please leave a like or comment on my video. Consider subscribing to my channel, and if you dislike the content, please leave a comment. Now, today's video is going to be something a little bit different. It's going to be a theory on taking on a T10 dead space. Now, in order to work on my theory, I needed to work on multiple aspects of gameplay. So, the first thing I thought of was using a drone fleet against a dead space T10. Now, the thing about that possibility is a T10 dead space or a level 10 dead space is very difficult, especially with the high end battleships. Sorry, so those battleships pack one massive punch basically with their weapons. When they hit you, you're going to feel it, and they do way more damage than your weapons in medium class. So, what would be the ways to face off against those vessels? Now, they can easily do about 20,000 damage if I'm correct in about 10 seconds. So, if you have a vessel that can tank something like 40 or 60,000 damage, it's going to help you a lot. So, I was thinking about it along my standard route, and then I remembered we have skill reset. So if we reset all of our skills and pump it into battle cruisers, for example, speed doesn't make a difference against those ships. They're already so fast, they're going to hit you regardless of what you do. So if I pumped in all of my skills into my battle cruisers and took it into those fights, could I actually make a win? Now, the answer which I got from all of my searching was yes, I could actually make a win, but it requires me to reallocate my skills to make the perfect vessel. So if I had a maximum in terms of my battle cruiser command, engineering, and defense, I would have not maximum in terms of expert, in terms of advanced. I would have a very good ship, and it is a possibility to do it right now. You just have to reallocate the right skills. Then the second thing I thought of was speed really going to make much of a difference for me? No, if I'm playing the front line, I'm going to take most of the damage. So I'm going to run with my standard shield build on it. So that's going to be shield hardener, shield extender, and shield booster. That's to give me the maximum amount of intake of damage that I possibly can go against. And then I'm left with two slots. And I was thinking, am I going to run an afterburner to give me a little bit of speed? And my answer was no instantly. So I was thinking about it again, and I was thinking, what else could I equip on this vessel to give me the edge in this fight? And I was thinking, ballistic control and tracking computer with a medium C-type missile launcher. And I was thinking about my firepower from it. That's averaging me about, okay, with my current setup on Challenger missiles and Challenger torpedoes, I do a difference of about 400 damage in the same damage time. So that's in 12 seconds. I do additional 400 with my torpedoes. So minus 200. I do an additional 200 damage the with the rapid missile launches, and I'm only doing it at a challenger level. So multiply it a little bit up. That's where it is. I'm going to get about an additional maybe about 200 DPS extra. So 400 DPS on my medium C type weapons. So that 400 DPS may not seem like a massive figure, but it is quite a bit extra to run with. And I'm thinking about it, and with the addition of ballistic control, which is reducing my fire time, and the increase of the missile tracking or missile guidance unit, that's increasing my damage. So I'm doing 10% extra damage on that. So that's 220. So that's 620 damage extra for every hit for 10 seconds. And I am going to hit once every 10 seconds, so it's actually half that amount. So it's about 310 damage every 310 extra damage every second. So 1310 damage every single second for that 10 seconds. And then I will be doing 1210 every second after that initial launch. So what is this going to do in terms of combat? Now, working it out, 1310 times 10, that gives you 13,100 damage, and the remaining will give you 12,000 damage. So 12,000 plus 13,000, 25,000 damage of one cyclone with a little bit of a tank. So you can take one hit and obliterate them for 20 seconds. If you had 4, 5, maybe 6 of these vessels, that would really, really change the dynamic. If you had a full fleet of these vessels, that's 10. That will be 10 times 25,000. That's 250,000 damage in 10 seconds. That means everything within your close range is literally going to be blasted to smithereens in that small space of time where you're going to take just one, where you're just going to take one hit. So you basically could take out 2 battleships, all of the elite faction vessels in that fight before you get into the heavy part of the battle. And that's provided you just manage to last that first 10 seconds with your battle cruisers. And 10 seconds being easy to last because you just have to survive 2 hits. And provided that someone else is going to take your place in the front and switching out aggro, you definitely can do it. You most probably could take out that entire fleet of enemy vessels in less than 1 minute. Now, I'm saying that it is possible for you to finish them in less than 1 minute. However, considering that the 210 and your lock speed is going to be a very big difference, you're going to fly right through the battleship. So battleships are going to be gone. You can fly right through the cruisers. So provided you only have 2 battleships, you most probably will take them both out with your entire fleet. That's going to be 160 of the damage. The cruisers will be at around 30,000 resistance each. I'm actually underestimating those battle cruisers. I should be giving them 100,000 each. So that is what you're just going to be able to take out. And then you're going to have 40,000, 30,000 to each cruiser. That means if you take out all the cruisers, if you try to take out all the cruisers, you're going to definitely destroy one before you reach the next. Now, a lot of players talk about splitting up the fleet when you jump into these fights. Now, here is one reason why you don't want to split up your fleet when you jump into a larger type battle. Remember the DPS I said you can do in 20 seconds? And that is as a combined 10-man fleet. That's 250,000 in just 20 seconds. Now, let's split it up into 3. Divide it by 3 and what do you get? You're getting somewhere close to 80,000 apiece. So y'all can all damage a battleship each. You're going to be able to take on a battleship each if there were 3, and you're going to be left with excess damage left on them for you to finish. However, they're going to get 20 seconds of firing on you. That means if you are swapping in 3-man squads, you're all going to have to take 1 shot each, and you're going to be reduced to minimum armor with minimum shield. And just thinking about that, you literally risk your entire success in that entire mission to fight them in these numbers. And if you so happen to be in the wrong spot where 2 battle cruisers lock onto you, it's bye-bye ship. Because 2 of them hitting you is an instant death in that mission. 2 shots is a kill to just about any vessel. Now, obviously, with the increased defense and all the stuff, you might be able to take 2 shots. But thinking about it overall, if you were to all gather together in one big group and cluster, now let's say that they're all moving towards you, even if it's the full 3 battle cruisers firing on you, you'll fire on one and you'll just about destroy it before the second one arrives. Remember, it's going to be instant death to them because you're going to get an increase in range, increase in firepower, increase in everything for those first few seconds. The first one will be dead before you reach your 6 seconds of your first fire. So that means it can get 1 shot off at you, and the second shot might or might not go off depending on its fire time. Then going on to the next vessel, before it can launch its second shot at you, you most definitely are going to have it. Remember, you have to think about orbiting each other instead of just orbiting the vessels. So you're going to orbit with each other and switch around your positions, moving forward, moving backwards. And in that 20 seconds, you can destroy all of those elite battleships. Now, the next thing you're going to do is warp out of the combat when you finish off with that timer. Now, there are 2 reasons to it. You want to recover all of your shield. Now, this is for taking on T10 Deadspace, and this is with missiles. So warp out and sit at the furthest possible range you can have. So basically, if you can warp to another planet or something, even getting out of the T10 Deadspace, it's highly unlikely another team will try and take it on. Now, when you go and you sit at this nice range, you've already at least killed 2 or 3 battleships. If you manage to kill all of the elite vessels in that time because they weren't running heavy defensives, then it is a bonus to you. Maybe they were running heavy offensives and you managed to destroy all of their ships before they managed to get a shot in at you. So if you had two at 100,000, there is a fantastic damage, and you take out a cruiser. That's three faction ships gone from the wave of about 20, if I'm correct. And there's about six ships in that entire mix up. So it could be three battle ships, two no two cruisers and one frigate, and that might be your breakup of elites in a T10 Deadspace. It might be worse. It might be 10 ships altogether, in which case the makeup will be like four battleships, three cruisers, three frigates. Now, obviously, with four battleships, that means 400,000 is what you're going to have to do. So, your first wave, you take out two, you take out one cruiser, and you get out of there. Then you go, you recharge. Everybody is ready for the next wave. You jump back into the fight. You go in, you take out multiple battle cruisers again in this. You take out multiple battleships in this wave again, take out another cruiser. At this point, you can choose to either stay in the fight and try and beat the remaining ships, or you can warp out and recharge for the last time. Obviously, your recharge time is about 60 seconds. That's to get everything back up and get it ready. If you have some members of your corporation around, have them around the planet to heal you up, give them some bit of the reward from the end mission. That's your loot. You split it up and you give them some of it. It is going to be easy. Basically, it is a two fleet composition win that I'm going for, but it's only one fleet actually battling the Deadspace. So if you have support vessels nearby, they can repair you up, they can recharge your capacitor really, really quick. So you go in for your third round at around 5 minutes, and at this point you're going to wipe out everything in that wave that is really dangerous, and you're going to take on the regular vessels. Now when you're taking on the regular vessels, you're going to be able to fight there for a long time. A regular battleship isn't going to really be able to hit your cruiser even at that T10 level, so you're just going to circle around and use your speed to get away from most of the damage. So at this point, what you're going to be able to do is hit all of the remaining ships, clear up the entire field, and what you have is the finishing of your first wave. And that first wave shouldn't take you more than 6 minutes. If it takes you more than 6 minutes, means that you did more than 3 runs into the battle, and it means that the battle was a little bit more tough, so maybe 10 minutes. If it is a tougher battle, then I'm estimating at the worst, so 10 minutes if it is 10 elites in that wave, that's to get rid of them. Taking out the rest of the ship should take you about 5 minutes maximum, so 15 minutes for the complete wave at the hardest possibility. Now, doing that there per wave, and if I consider my calculations on it correct, you have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5. That's 5 levels, and level 1 has 1 encounter wave, level 2 has 2 encounter waves, level 3, 4, and 5 will have 3, so that's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So you might have something like 14 waves at the max, or 13 waves if I am correct. So 13 waves with this entire breakup, which might be exactly the same right through. 13 times this will be 13. Okay, I'm just running a little bit of hard maths in my head right now. It's getting a bit difficult. 13 times 15 minutes. It might take you 3.5 hours to finish off this entire battle. That's if you're running this format with someone recharging you. Even if you don't have someone recharging you, I highly doubt that 2 minutes is enough to finish off your... No, not 2 minutes, 20 seconds is enough to finish off your entire capacitor. It might work out for you. It might mean that you might take a little bit of damage to your armor, provided you can space yourself and draw aggro from each of the vessels separately. It is going to work out better for you. If all 3 hit you at once, it's an instant death to just about any vessel. You'd have to be running a super heavy defensive rig. That means you won't be able to run the ballistic and missile tracking, so you wouldn't be part of that heavy assault type of format. That means you'd be running armor and shield operation bonuses to get you to the maximum strength that you can go, and you'd be using the ballistic control to get you quick firing. But you won't be able to move around in that fight, and you'd have to have everything come close to you. Now, you could do this here with missiles as well. You just have to deduct the you just have to deduct 40,000, so you can take out two battleships with just long range missiles, and your range is going to increase drastically in the combat. Now, for this year, your skills will have to be reset and done right now in the game. You'd have to have advanced command, advanced engineering, and advanced defense. You're going to have a maximum shield hardener and shield operation bonus for you. The next thing that you would have to have is advanced missile operation and advanced missile upgrade. So you're going to need both of those to be 5555 55555, and that is the only way in which you're actually going to be able to take on the level 10 dead space. Now this is a theory build, a theory operation. I'm not sure if you can one fleet it. The operation of the second fleet is just to give you that little bit of time extra so that you lose 0 seconds to jumping in. So if you can do that, they have a full capacitor every time you go in, full shield, full armor, everything repaired for you by a ally. That means you have more speed, more power to get through that entire mission. It might mean you sacrificing a billion towards the repair fleet who's there to help you out, and it would be worthwhile for you overall because it is quite a dangerous operation to take on a T10 dead space. One mistake and you will need them to repair your armor completely and your shield completely, so having a support fleet nearby will be a good help to you. But it does require the reset, so it is quite an expensive ordeal to go through. If I'm correct, 1,400 plaques is the maximum you're going to need, and at the current price of plaques, let me just double check that right now. With the current price of plaques, if I'm correct, it isn't going to be too heavy. It's just going to be a few million. Let's see. It should be about 500,000 of plaques. No, it's actually gone down again. So maximum, let's just say it's 400,000. It should shift up and shift down. So 400,000 times 100, that's 40 million to your 100 plaques each time. 40 million times 14, 560 million plex is what it 560 million ISK is what it will cost you to reset, and it might cost you 560 to reset back to your old settings so you can use your other vessels again. But that's if you're scrapping everything. That means you have no research in your battle cruisers and you decide to go this route. So anybody who is making in the billions a day and decides they want to take this as a challenge, if I'm correct, out of the entire mission against T10 Dead Space, there's probably about a 20 billion ISK reward total, and amongst 10 people, it's 2 billion a piece. You could do it just for the prestige, you could do it for the actual loot. Now, when it comes to the loot, remember the big items from the elite vessels aren't really going to work out for you in terms of ISK. But when it comes to the other elite items like the blueprints for the ships and the T4 blueprints and so forth, it is going to be a major impact for you. Now, there was something else I did think of, and that was running a full drone prophecy army against it. Sorry. Running all 3 drone augmentations, plus running the armor hardener, plus the armor recovery, is going to allow you to tank quite a bit of a hit from that big ship. And with everything firing together, you're going to equate the missile launchers. Sorry about that. So at the best, using the drones, you could actually take out those battleships in about the exact same time as you would with the missiles. It's also going to give you a little bit extra range on them. So yeah, it's a good option to go with the drone control as your bonus and using that to try and take them out. Now you do have 5 low slots, so it will be 3 and 2 for armor, and you're going to be able to wipe out that fleet in almost no time. Now another thing that I didn't mention was everything that I'm talking about is considering that you have defensive operation in your rigs. So a full defensive rig instead of any offensive rigs. If you go more offensive, you most probably could up your damage to 300,000 in that 20 seconds. but you do run the bigger risk of losing your vessel from taking excessive damage. Now, with all of that being said, I know that this isn't the most economical thing to do in the game, and it's just basically a show of prestige thing to do. About 3 hours to complete that mission wave if you're doing it in this format. If you're staying in the fight in between those waves, the 15 minutes isn't going to actually be your count. And if you can actually stay around after you destroy the battle cruisers because everything else doesn't damage you bad enough, you could easily do it in half that time. So about 1.5 hours to complete a T10 Deadspace if you are that level of an elite player. Now, even with this theory build and everything that I've put into, not a theory build, in this theory assault, with everything that I've said, it doesn't seem like it's the most viable. It's still going to be more viable to run in multiple fleets to take on the T10 Deadspace. You still will make more reward in that way, and you run the lower risk of losing vessels. Because with 2 fleets or 3 fleets, you can do the split up method and you can take out everything in that area without having too much of a concentration of fire where you are. Now, the problems that I have with the split up method that are immediately popping up in my head when I think about it is when you split up the damage from the fleet, you always run the higher risk of taking damage. And if there are higher resistances, you actually risk more damage overall than destroying them. If one of those ships was gone and they do 20,000 damage per hit, that means you could have lost 20,000 damage from your enemy's damage to you in 6 seconds, while in the other route, it's going to take you something like 30 seconds to lose that 20,000 damage. And in that time, they most probably would have fired about 5 times. So you took on more damage overall. And even though the other ships were still there, at 12 seconds, one of them would have disappeared. At the 20th second, the third one might have disappeared. And that is where the downside comes in splitting up your fleet. However, the positive to it is you gain the advantage of moving aggro away from one player. However, it's not guaranteed that the aggro will be removed from one player. Even with your breaking up and moving in multiple directions, one player still might be targeted. And it always requires you to have someone paint out which enemies you're going to target first. Okay, so that's going to be it for this theory that have put in. Now, my figures might not be perfect, and the ballistic control might be slightly lower on how much of DPS you could do. When by slightly lower, I mean like 2,000 less. It doesn't seem like a small amount, but it is a massive difference in combat. And with all of that said, I hope that you all enjoy. I hope that people are going to try out this offensive style. And it is even possible to use a Cyclone to solo T6 and T7 Deadspace. I know that because one of the players in my corporation was bragging about it to me, and he told me that he didn't use much of a defensive setup. He just used the ballistic control and the missile tracking unit, and he soloed a T6 and a T7 Deadspace yesterday. Now he is thinking of soloing a T8 and T9 to test out his build because he has enough to replace his ship 2 times over. And considering exactly what he just said, I'm thinking that there's going to be a ton of players who are going to rush to do the exact same thing, trying to do the T6, T7, and T8 Deadspaces solo. I do not think that they are impossible to complete. I think you can complete them. It's just that they are a little bit dangerous to fight if you make one mistake. So thank you all for watching. Have a good day.